Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, a teacher accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a former student is once again under arrest. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Jacqueline Ma, a 34-year-old teacher at Lincoln Acres Elementary in National City, was first arrested back on March 7th. She later bailed out of jail and was released from custody. National City Police say since that time, detectives investigating the case developed probable cause to rearrest Ma on additional felony charges. Police say she was taken into custody today and will be rebooked into Las Colinas Women's Detention Facility. They are not releasing any more information, saying the victim is a minor and the investigation is ongoing. San Diego's climate action plan is taking another step forward, but it's not fast enough for activists. Today's move by the Environment Committee came after a rally demanding the city do more. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer has the story.
The rally at Civic Center Plaza was a call for bold climate action and tangible change. The city's climate action plan looks to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2035. But activists like Dr. Elizabeth Barreras-Revest say the city needs to take action now or it will face massive public health consequences.
Our most vulnerable community members, the elderly, children, the indigenous, minorities, migrants, and those with pre-existing illness are suffering the most profound health impacts.
Just last week, the city released a draft document to implement the climate action plan. It's been criticized for a lack of specific details.
We need specific timelines and associated costs, and without these details, we cannot know if this updated climate action plan will be successful. We're excited, but we need concrete information. We don't have the option to repeat the 2015 climate action plan, which did not result in meeting any targets.
The activists say the city of San Diego is behind in delivering on its promises to its residents. They say 90% of the climate actions listed in its original 2015 plan have not been met or are lacking publicly available information.
The Climate Action Plan sets ambitious targets for 2030 and 2035, giving the city less than 10 years to meet most of its objectives. Each year we must check to see if we are making progress on every strategy, from increasing our tree canopy percentages to decarbonizing our buildings.
Activists say San Diego communities face increased climate-related dangerous heat waves, wildfires, and pollution. They say the city should take advantage of historic funding opportunities from the state and federal government to make San Diego a leader in climate action. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
President Joe Biden is set to make his second visit to San Diego County as president. On Monday, he will meet with the British and Australian prime ministers here in San Diego. They are expected to discuss long-standing security issues and their commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Biden last visited our county back in October, speaking at Mira Costa College and a technology company in Carlsbad. Last month, First Lady Jill Biden made a trip out here to highlight cancer research and meet with Navy families. New developments in the controversy surrounding the Public Defender's Office. As KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma tells us, San Diego County supervisors have hired outside lawyers to investigate alleged misconduct in the office.
KPBS has obtained a copy of a letter sent last month by the San Diego law firm Myers-Nave to current and former deputy public defenders. The letter states the firm has been retained to probe discrimination and retaliation complaints against the public defender's office. The inquiry coincides with a recent jury verdict that awarded ex-public defender Zach Davina $2.6 million in damages. The county recently settled a similar case with Michelle Reynoso, another ex-public defender, for $900,000. Davina says the independent investigation is long overdue.
And now it seems that the only way they would take it seriously is through litigation, and that's where we ended up here. So I'm grateful that it is happening, and I have hope for it.
The county sent a written response to KPBS stating it takes seriously any allegation of wrongdoing in the workplace. But the county refused to elaborate, saying, quote, to preserve the integrity and objectivity of confidential investigations, as well as our employees' right to privacy, the county cannot confirm or deny any specific investigation or allegation. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
San Diego police have released almost 100 records of officer misconduct, but a third are missing what discipline the officers received. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis tells us about the impacts that could have, and a warning the story contains graphic images.
In 2019, the San Diego Police Department's procedure for a carotid restraint was that they should be applied no longer than 15 seconds. In December of that year, Officer Dylan Fuston held one for 38 seconds. Police body camera shows another officer telling Fuston to stop, but he kept going.
Go ahead, let him go,
The man he stopped doesn't know why officers want him in handcuffs. Fuston doesn't introduce himself or tell the man why they want to question him. According to police documents, the man tried to headbutt Fuston.
Cooperate. Stop. Pull your hands back.
No. Stop.
Put your hands back.
Stop.
Internal Affairs investigators said that Fuston's chokehold created a substantial risk for bodily injury. But we don't know if Fuston was disciplined at all. Earlier this year, the San Diego Police Department made 93 misconduct cases available to the public. Every case was investigated by Internal Affairs, and investigators concluded that officers did something wrong. But 1/3 of those cases, including Fuston's, don't have any disciplinary records. That doesn't actually mean that these officers were not disciplined. It just means we don't have the records. There are multiple reasons why the public doesn't have access to those records. Retired La Mesa police captain Dan Willis says that there may not be a paper trail because the punishment was not severe.
The most reasonable explanation is it was less than formally handled. Like maybe the guy had to take a class. Maybe he had to do some different training. Maybe he just got scolded by the lieutenant.
San Diego Police Captain Jeff Jordan oversees the records department. He didn't make anyone available for an interview, but he did respond to questions via email. Jordan says that the police department has different retention periods for different disciplinary actions. For example, the department keeps written warning for 2 years before deleting them. That explains missing discipline records for older cases, but not for newer ones. David Loy is the legal director for the First Amendment Coalition. He says another reason for missing records is that officers quit or retired before they got in trouble.
Historically, that has been somewhat of a common loophole where officers might resign to avoid a finding or avoid some disciplinary sanction.
Whatever the reason for the missing discipline, we know that Fuston left the force in 2022 and now works for the Sheriff's Department. It's unclear why he left and what, if any, disciplinary records the Sheriff's Department had access to. They say they checked personnel files and history from previous employers. This lack of accountability creates tension between the San Diego Police Department and communities of color. Abraham Jarvis has several open complaints against SDPD officers. He's only 18 years old and has already lost count of how many times he's been pulled over.
I'll say like approximately like 14 to 15 times. Yeah.
It's gotten to the point that he's afraid to drive.
I would take the freeway just to go get my little brother from my auntie's house because I didn't want to take the roads where they could pull me over, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, overall, it's been tough.
His mother, Evelia Jarvis, doesn't think the department is taking their complaints seriously. She also believes that her son would be safer from the police outside of San Diego. So Abraham is going to join the Army.
When we discussed that, I just felt... I felt it was going to be safer for him to just get out of Southeast San Diego.
Fejarvis says it was a difficult decision to make.
Of course, no one wants to see their child leave, but I'm like, this is going to benefit my child. And just the fear of just knowing that anytime he's out and about, they can do anything and get away with it and ask questions later, and it is what it is, and that's it. They don't get a consequence.
She's always respected the police, but their treatment of her son has changed that. She says now she respects the ones who are doing their job, not the ones harassing her child. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
And this story was reported with iNewsSource, an independent nonprofit partner of KPBS. From fires to analysis of police records to crime news, KPBS covers a wide variety of public safety stories. Now, our newsroom has created a public safety coverage policy. It will guide decisions on what stories we prioritize and what stories we avoid, as well as whose narratives we need to include. The work was done with a lot of input from community organizations and with training and guidance from the journalism organization Pointer. You can view our new policy at kpbs.org/policies. A local jury says a former KUSI news anchor was the victim of pay discrimination, but Sandra Moss won't get the $10 million that she asked for. Instead, the San Diego Union Tribune reports Moss will receive $1.5 million. Deliberations wrapped up this afternoon after the trial lasted for several weeks. Moss argued she made substantially less than a male co-anchor and was fired after asking for a raise. As California's housing crisis continues, some cities are resisting state law that calls for more affordable housing to be built, and now one of them is being sued for the second time. Today, the state said it's suing Huntington Beach again for violating state law concerning accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, also known as granny flats. Attorney General Rob Bonta and Governor Gavin Newsom announced the suit in a virtual news conference. The state sued Huntington Beach back in 2019 for the same thing. Bonta says the city is flouting the law again.
Huntington Beach, their actions are brazen, blatant, egregious, willful, and intentional. They are looking at the law, they know exactly what their duty is, and they're saying, we're not going to comply. And that's not okay.
Some cities in San Diego County, like Del Mar, Escondido, and others, have been warned by the state to come into compliance with the law, or they could be the subject of future lawsuits. The rebuilding of a Del Mar school is back underway after a court threw out an injunction to halt it. KPBS reporter Claire Strong explains what happens next.
For more than 3 years, students at Del Mar Heights Elementary haven't had a school to call their own. They've been working out of portables at 2 other schools in the district, with half the pupils at Del Mar Hills and the other half at Ocean Air, while the future of their campus played out in the courts. It's been a lot to juggle for parents, especially those with kids at different schools.
It's been a challenge. I mean, it takes more time to get the kids to and from school. Sometimes our older daughter's riding the bus. She can't have lunch with her younger sister. Her younger sister's sad that her older sister's not there for some of those special moments.
The rebuild was supposed to start in 2020 and finish in time for the fall semester in 2021. But 2 lawsuits filed by the group Save the Field pressed pause on construction work. They're worried the new site will lead to more traffic, fire risks, and hurt the local environment. But PE teacher Ian Phillip is looking forward to the school being back together again.
Being able to walk across school and deal with a concern or a celebration. To just have an assembly together and celebrate normal elementary school things, that's been gone since we left.
In the latest turn of events, the San Diego Superior Court threw out the latest injunction earlier this week, allowing the project to continue. The new site will be over 66,000 square feet and will be able to accommodate more than 500 students. Jesse Barrett can't wait for the kids to have a proper school experience again.
It's going to provide better play spaces, better collaboration spaces for the kids, better performance spaces. I mean, we had to do a lot of our, performances outdoor, and when it's raining, that's challenging. It's going to be a great place for learning and a great school experience for all the kids for generations to come.
The rebuild is expected to take around a year, which can't come fast enough for the parents, students and teachers at Del Mar Heights. In a statement, Save the Field said it's asking the community to move beyond this divisiveness and to peacefully support the safety of our community. Claire Strong, KPBS News.
Fears have been confirmed in the San Bernardino Mountains, where bodies are being found in homes buried under the snow. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has an update from a resident.
Joe Simons, his wife, and 2 daughters have lived in Lake Arrowhead for almost 5 years. They moved there to be closer to family. His mom lives down the street. He says when the National Weather Service sent out the area's first ever blizzard warning just over 2 weeks ago, he and his family prepared for the worst and hunkered down.
I have a generator. I had 5 days of gas to power the entire house. I had 3 weeks of food. I had medication. I did everything I could do.
And even with all the preparation, his mother lost her home to a fire. He says he's angry that government officials didn't step up and prepare for the most vulnerable, and says they're still not doing enough to get more relief and resources.
Our local county government, state government, and the federal government have just failed us. There's no way around it. There's homes still to this day that are inaccessible. There's people who are trapped still.
The death toll has climbed to at least 13.
I suspect, a lot of elderly would still be alive had the storm not come. And to me, that's the measuring stick of whether or not they died from the storm or not. If you die in your home, it's just sad.
He says he's grateful for first responders who have stepped up. But he says it's clear that federal aid must step in to help a community that is usually self-sufficient, that needs a hand up before more lives are lost and more livelihoods and homes are too.
Overall, it's mostly been neighbors helping neighbors. And at what point does the government get involved? And they just have seemed to be not there.
A storm is expected to come in, and he fears this will make a bad situation worse. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
We've seen stories lately about the safety issues at airports and during flights, and one of those is severe turbulence that has led to serious injuries and death. Tom Foreman tells us why scientists are looking at whether climate change is part of the problem.
Violent turbulence has been a feature of flying for decades, with each year bringing fresh and frightening examples.
A lot of people hit the ceiling and a lot of screaming.
A series of recent incidents have alarmed some flyers.
It was honestly pretty scary. It was kind of like out of a movie.
And they have terrified others.
My life just flashed through my eyes. I thought it was the end.
Climate change has been scientifically linked to increasingly severe weather. So, amid all the headlines about planes being rattled, a troubling question has emerged. Is the climate making turbulence worse too? Yes, says the co-author of this 2019 study, Professor Paul Williams, who studies atmospheric science.
Which the climate change has made turbulent flights more likely in much the same way that it's made heat waves more likely as well. Climate change is strengthening clear air turbulence at all flight levels, in all seasons, everywhere around the world where there's a jet stream.
Simply put, he says climate change is creating atmospheric disturbances which generate a ripple-like effect in the air even when no bad weather is apparent. But proving a link for any given flight is tricky. When a passenger is injured, like the 7 who went to the hospital after a Lufthansa flight a few days ago, or if someone dies, as happened with a woman on a private jet over New England, the National Transportation Safety Board notes the incident. But it does not track turbulence on all flights.
And frankly, that's not enough. We need to have a more robust system, because the attempts at forward-looking radar to pick up clear air turbulence, they simply have not panned out yet.
More information is key, researchers say, because the threat is not going away.
So I'd love to see more efforts put into collecting reliable, robust data as we move into this more turbulent future.
Here's a look at our weather headlines. There's some more rain in our forecast. Showers return Friday and continue into early Saturday. Snow with this next storm system very high, so most of the mountain areas will be looking at rain. And dry, warmer weather will return Sunday into Monday. Also, with this atmospheric river approaching, we will see some gusty westerly winds. So wind advisories have been issued from late Friday into early Saturday. So gusts over 40 miles an hour expected. Tonight in the metro, pretty tranquil. Our low temperature, 52 degrees. Temperatures will cool down to the low 40s in Ramona tonight. El Cajon's 47, Borrego Springs down to 53 degrees. Here's a look at the futurecast for you. Starting off the weather forecast period dry.
So it's dry tonight into early tomorrow, but the rain works its way down the coast, so you can see by Friday morning the rain's moved into Los Angeles, and then it moves into San Diego County late in the morning and during the afternoon hours. Here's our forecast. Clouds thickening up, and the rain will advance from north to south. Temperatures hovering mostly in the upper 50s to the lower 60s. Here's our forecast for the coastal areas. Rain and drizzle rolls in Friday into Friday night, tapers off early Saturday, brightening up here on Sunday and Monday, a couple of nice days. As we head to the inland sections, rain arrives by the afternoon Friday, tapers off early Saturday. Clouds will start to thicken up Tuesday as another system approaches. As we take you up in the mountains, we're talking rain this time around. A little rain comes in Friday night, but it should be rather windy. Brightening skies Sunday into Monday. And in the desert, we'll be looking at clouds rolling in Friday, and then for the weekend, breezy and milder. We'll see temperatures into the low and mid 80s by Monday. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Longer days and shorter nights are ahead as daylight saving time goes into effect once again this weekend. KPBS reporter Tanya Thornton got some advice on adjusting to the change starting now.
The time change happens Sunday morning, but Dr. Gary Levinson, a sleep physician with Sharp Health, advises getting a head start to ease into it.
You want to try to start going to sleep a little earlier voluntarily, a few days ahead of time, even 3 to 4 days early. Maybe go to sleep 15 minutes earlier every night.
Dr. Levinson says at first, your body may not be sleepy, but you can encourage sleep by decreasing the use of electronics and minimizing natural light. He says the biggest challenge during daylight saving time comes in the mornings.
Because your body's going to want to sleep longer. And so the key to that is trying to get natural light into your room sooner.
His advice is to get up as soon as your alarm goes off and open your blinds for some natural light. Taking the time to gradually adjust especially helps with kids and even our pets.
Think about it that you're a dog or a cat, you're on a regular schedule. This is when you eat, this is when you walk, this is when you go to bed. And all of a sudden, they pull the rug out from under you and everything's an hour off, and you don't know why.
John Van Zanti with Rancho Coastal Humane Society says the time change is as hard on our pets as it is on us. But we can help by moving up feeding and walking times as we get closer to the time change. While voters opted to keep daylight saving time year-round in 2018, Congress has yet to make it official. So until then, the change continues. And it's just another sign that spring is around the corner. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The Aztecs men's basketball team is moving on in the Mountain West Conference Tournament. SDSU beat Colorado State in a close game by a score of 64-61. Lamont Butler was the top scorer for the Aztecs with 16 points. The next round is tomorrow in Las Vegas. SDSU will play the winner of this afternoon's game between San Jose State and Nevada. Wave FC is adding a San Diego County native to its roster. Sierra Engie is originally from Cardiff, and she'll play midfielder for the Wave this season. Her contract includes an option for 2024. Engie was drafted by the Wave in January out of Stanford. The NWSL season is just about 2 weeks away, with the Wave's first game set for March 25th. The 2023 San Diego County Spelling Bee champion has just been declared. Late this afternoon, a 7th grade student from Poway Unified won by spelling a word that means forcible breathing or blowing out. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us he is a returning champion.
May I please have all the information?
The 53rd annual countywide spelling bee came down to these two middle school students. Jed Lee on the right, an 8th grader at Francis Parker School, and the ultimate winner on the left, a 7th grader at Mesa Verde Middle School in the Poway Unified School District. Let's begin with his name.
My first name, M-I-H-I-R, Mihir. Last name, Konkapaka, Konkapaka, Konkapaka.
This is the second year in a row that Mahir Konkapaka has been named the best speller in the county. He did it by spelling the word exsufflation, which is a noun that means forcible breathing or blowing out, as in clearing the respiratory tract. He competed against 80 other middle school students from across the county.
Can you use it in a sentence?
The rules don't allow us to broadcast the actual words spelled today. We can tell you these competitors studied from a list of 4,000 words, and each of them won their own school spelling bee to get here.
I basically tried to read through all the words, and then the ones I thought were weird or I didn't know how to pronounce, I searched them up.
Sorry, it's not good.
It's really hard when you see a student spell out, which is what we call it when they miss a word. You know that it's a lot of preparation that's gone into it and the disappointment that comes, but they are absolutely still winners.
The winner of this spelling bee will represent San Diego County in the National Bee in late May. So it is very much a competition and an opportunity for learning, too. Haroon Ali, an 8th grader from the O'Farrell Charter School, puts it this way.
It expands your vocabulary. If you're talking to someone, you can be like, wow, this guy has an amazing vocabulary because they say all these different words.
Mahir Konkapaka, spelling champion, YouTuber, an inventor who also writes code. MG Perez, KPBS, NEWS, KPBS News.
Oh, the sheer happiness there. Congratulations. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.